The thick, humid air is heavy with the scent of rot and salt spray, leaves crunch softly underfoot, but here, every single step could be your final one. This is the Brazilian island of Queimada Grande, a small patch of land spanning 43 hectares that belongs entirely and exclusively to snakes. Local fishermen avoid this place with pure terror, knowing that for every single meter, there are up to 5 deadly vipers waiting. Their lethal venom literally melts human flesh, forcing the Brazilian government to strictly prohibit anyone from approaching these dangerous shores. Only once a year does the military navy make a brief stop here to inspect and maintain the island's solitary automated lighthouse. A keeper once lived there with his family, but the snakes breached the house, leaving no one alive in the ensuing tragedy. Now it is a kingdom of pure fear, where absolute silence reigns, broken only by the chilling hiss rising from the dense grass. An icy wind burns the face while a vast white desert of snow stretches out in every direction. Hidden deep within the mountain depths of the Svalbard archipelago is a massive concrete tunnel that leads directly into the eternal permafrost. This is the Doomsday Vault, a high-security fortress engineered to preserve life in the event of an absolute global catastrophe. Behind these heavy steel doors, more than 1,200,000 seed samples from all corners of the world are safely archived. The internal temperature remains perfectly stable, held at a constant -18 degrees Celsius at all times. The air inside is dry and completely motionless, carrying the sterile scent of ancient dust and cold iron. No tourists or even elite scientists are granted entry here without a high-level special security clearance. This sanctuary is built specifically for those who might survive after the end of the world. Humanity's only hope for a rebirth is securely sealed deep within the ice, where the doors remain forever closed to any ordinary person. The warm waters of the Indian Ocean gently lap against pristine white beaches where thick green jungles flourish. This place seems like a paradise, but anyone who dares to approach it risks facing a deadly rain of arrows. North Sentinel Island is the ancestral home to one of the last remaining uncontacted tribes on the planet. These people have lived in the Stone Age for over 60,000 years. They aggressively protect their territory from any and all outsiders. The Indian government has established a strict exclusion zone with a radius of 5 nautical miles around the island, making any approach strictly forbidden by law. Because the immunity of these indigenous people cannot withstand modern diseases, where even a common cold could wipe out the entire tribe in mere days. Thick smoke often rises above the forest, marking a world that has utterly rejected our modern timeline and firmly closed its doors to the outside. The sharp scent of sulfur fills the air as the warmth of black ash can still be felt underfoot on Surtsey Island in Iceland, the youngest piece of land on our entire planet. It was born in the year 1963, following a powerful underwater eruption, as molten magma burst from the ocean to form new land before the eyes of a stunned humanity. From that moment on, access has been strictly forbidden, as the island became a living laboratory where scientists observed the birth of life without any human interference. No tourist is permitted to set foot on these rocks, and before every visit, researchers meticulously inspect their clothing to ensure no foreign seeds are introduced. Once, a scientist accidentally left behind a tomato skin, and a bush grew from it which had to be immediately destroyed. Nature here writes its history from a completely clean slate. The cool touch of stone corridors envelops the skin, while the air is thick with the heavy scent of old parchment and the dust of centuries. Hidden beneath St. Peter's Basilica are 85 kilometers of shelving. These are the Vatican's secret archives, a place where history's darkest secrets are kept. From the original letters of Michelangelo to the chilling documents of Galileo's trial. It is impossible for tourists and most priests to enter here. Only a narrow circle of vetted scholars can obtain temporary access to specific documents they request in advance, for walking freely among these forbidden shelves is strictly prohibited. Every single paper breathes with intrigue, conspiracies, and the absolute power that has shaped the fate of Europe for centuries. It is a vault of human sins and monumental discoveries, which the Vatican guards more fiercely than any sacred relic. The scorching sun relentlessly burns the Nevada desert, dry wind kicks up columns of red dust, and the silence is shattered by the roar of military fighter jets. This is Area 51, the most highly classified military base in the United States of America. Around it are motion sensors and hidden cameras, while armed patrols have orders to shoot to kill without warning. For decades, the government denied the very existence of this place, spawning thousands of rumors about crashed alien spacecraft and human experimentation. Former employees confessed to horrific things before their deaths, yet not a single piece of evidence has ever seen the light of day. The sky above the base is closed to all flights, and anyone who takes a single step beyond the rusted fence will vanish forever in the endless sands. The damp, cool air smells of wet rock and minerals, as the sound of water droplets echoes loudly through the impenetrable darkness. This is the Chauvet Cave in the south of France, where time itself stopped 36,000 years ago. On its walls, the oldest and most perfect cave paintings in human history have been preserved. The cave was accidentally discovered in the year 1994, but today, the entrance is hermetically welded shut with a steel door. Even the breath of a few people can alter the microclimate and destroy these priceless masterpieces through the growth of mold. Only a few scientists are granted entry there for just a few hours each year. They wear sterile suits and move along narrow metal walkways to avoid touching the floor, where the bones of cave bears still lie undisturbed. The heavy silence of the underworld presses against the ears, while a faint metallic taste lingers in the stagnant air. Beneath a tall green hill in the heart of China lies the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. His eternal peace is guarded by the famous Terracotta Army, 8,000 full-sized clay warriors. But the tomb itself has remained untouched for over 2,000 years, as the Chinese government strictly prohibits any excavations. Ancient texts tell of deadly traps, crossbows that fire automatically into the dark, and rivers of liquid mercury mimicking the oceans. Modern sensors truly do detect lethal levels of poisonous vapors inside the tomb. Scientists fear that outside air would instantly turn these priceless artifacts into dust, so the emperor continues his eternal reign in total darkness and solitude. Thick Venetian fog hides the outlines of old ruins, while the air is filled with a persistent stench of rotting wood and dampness. This is the Italian island of Poveglia, often called the most terrifying place in all of Europe. Its soil is 50% human ash, as for centuries, plague victims were brought here to die far away from society. Later, a psychiatric hospital was opened here, where the head doctor performed cruel and experimental procedures on the patients. Local fishermen never cast their nets near these shores, for they fear pulling up human bones from the depths below. The Italian authorities have banned all visits to the island, leaving it to slowly crumble away into total ruin. The dark hospital corridors have long been swallowed by nature, yet those who have secretly ventured there swear they heard screams echoing through the roar of the surf. Footsteps echo sharply off the perfectly polished marble, while the air carries the scent of expensive tobacco and an invisible, pervasive fear. Hidden deep within the government district of Pyongyang lies Room 39, the most secretive organization in the most isolated country on Earth. This is the personal shadow bank of the North Korean leader, generating billions of dollars every single year. No one knows for certain what happens behind these massive doors, but defectors speak of vast operations involving counterfeit currency, arms trading, and smuggling. It is impossible, even for the highest party leadership, to enter without a special, top-level clearance. Every employee understands that the slightest mistake will cost not only their life, but the lives of their relatives up to the third generation. It is the heart of darkness, beating under absolute and perfect surveillance. The cold granite of the Ural Mountains conceals a secret that forces Western intelligence to nervously study satellite imagery. Deep underground lies a massive bunker city, capable of housing tens of thousands of people. It smells of damp concrete and diesel fuel, while the echo of footsteps gets lost in endless tunnels. The Russian government explains this place as ordinary mines, but the scale of construction is truly staggering. This sanctuary was created for the top leadership in the event of a nuclear war. Local residents who service the complex sign non-disclosure agreements, while the perimeter is patrolled by soldiers with dogs. No ordinary mortal will ever witness what lies behind those thick armored doors, built to withstand a direct hit from an atomic bomb. Giant redwoods block out the sun, while the air is heavy with the scent of pine needles and smoke from nocturnal bonfires. Every summer, the global elite, presidents, billionaires, and media moguls gather in this secluded Californian forest to escape public scrutiny. Spanning over 1,000 hectares, the territory is meticulously guarded by a private army. Entry is impossible without an invitation awaited for decades. At night, beneath a 40-meter-tall stone owl statue, they perform strange rituals, burning an effigy, which symbolizes the burning away of human cares and worldly anxieties. Those who managed to sneak inside spoke of an atmosphere of absolute power and conspiracies forged directly beneath the starry sky, while the rest of the world remains completely unaware of where its ultimate fate is being decided. Azure waves crash against flawless coral reefs. But instead of the cry of seagulls, one hears only the deafening roar of heavy strategic bombers. The air is thick with the scent of aviation fuel and scorching asphalt, as this remains one of the world's most restricted military sites lost in the Indian Ocean. Thousands of islanders once called this place home, but they were forcibly evicted to clear the way for a top-secret military installation. Today it is impossible for civilian ships to reach these shores, as any approaching vessel is immediately intercepted by heavily armed patrol boats. Journalists and human rights activists have spent years trying to prove that a secret prison for terrorists exists beneath these tropical palms where brutal interrogations take place. But this green paradise securely guards its bloody secrets under the seal of absolute classification. A warm Hawaiian breeze lifts red dust from the scorched earth, while the absolute silence is broken only by the rhythmic thundering of horse hooves. This place is located right next to the world's most famous resorts, yet it remains completely impossible for an ordinary tourist to enter. The island has been owned by a single family since the 19th century, and they have transformed it into a secluded time capsule. There are no roads, running water, or internet here, and the local residents still speak exclusively in the ancient Hawaiian language. The owners carefully shield the locals from any influence of modern civilization. Even relatives of the inhabitants can visit only with a special permit. This is the only patch of land in Hawaii where time has forever stopped, preserving a fragile culture behind an invisible wall of absolute isolation. A merciless sun scorches the Australian outback, the wind drives thorny shrubs across the plains, and the horizon trembles with the intense heat. Amidst this dead landscape rise massive white domes, emitting a low hum that makes the very air vibrate. This is a secret surveillance base, jointly operated by the intelligence agencies of Australia and the United States. It listens to the entire world, intercepting satellite signals, telephone conversations, and military transmissions from an entire hemisphere. The perimeter is enclosed by a triple fence with motion sensors, while the airspace above is designated as a restricted zone, where any aircraft can be shot down instantly. Employees live in a state of constant paranoia as they control the most dangerous weapon of modern times, which is information, which invisible antennas continuously extract from the depths of cold space. The humid air of South Carolina smells of swamp and rotting wood, as a chilling scream that sounds nothing like a human echoes from the dense thickets. This is Morgan Island, a piece of land spanning 800 hectares that has been completely and utterly taken over by primates. In the year 1979, approximately 4,000 monkeys were brought here for the specific purpose of conducting large-scale medical experiments. These animals were carriers of lethal and dangerous viruses, and today their population thrives in conditions of absolute and wild freedom. The government has strictly forbidden any outsiders from approaching these shores, for a single bite or scratch could transmit an incurable disease to a human. The island is patrolled by specialized boats, and anyone who dares to step onto this infected sand faces immediate arrest and a strict quarantine. The air here is sterile and cold, carrying a faint metallic taste. Footsteps are muffled by a thick carpet, while massive steel doors weighing several tons loom ahead. Located in the very heart of Atlanta is one of the most heavily guarded places on the planet, a vault housing the world's most famous recipe that generates billions of dollars every year. Only 2 people on the entire Earth know the exact formula of the drink at the same time, and they are legally forbidden from flying on the same plane to ensure the secret never vanishes in a catastrophe. Even the company's highest leadership is denied entry, as the vault is surrounded by dozens of cameras, laser grids, and advanced fingerprint scanners. This is a true fortress of modern industry, where a simple, sweet liquid is guarded more fiercely than the most sensitive state secrets. The freezing Scottish wind knocks you off your feet, and the air smells of wet grass and salt, yet this perfect green valley hides an invisible death. This is Gruinard Island, a place where military forces tested biological weapons during the height of the Second World War. They detonated bombs filled with anthrax spores here, permanently transforming the fertile land into a desolate dead zone. Although decades later the authorities declared the territory clean and lifted the official ban, local residents still live in panic, fearing even to look in its direction. Scientists warn that spores can survive deep in the earth for hundreds of years, patiently waiting for their time to re-emerge. The silence here feels unnatural. Not a single bird lands on these rocks, sensing the poison that has forever seeped into the very stone. Cheerful laughter echoes through the streets of Disneyland, scented with cotton candy and popcorn, yet a completely different world is hidden behind nondescript, green doors. This is an exclusive private establishment for the wealthiest people on the planet, created by the park's founder himself for his secret meetings with investors. The air inside is saturated with the aroma of expensive cigars, aged cognac, and the scent of immense wealth. An ordinary person will never cross this threshold. The waiting list is scheduled 15 years in advance, and the initiation fee costs tens of thousands of dollars. In these dimly lit, luxurious halls, there is no place for children or ordinary tourists, as famous politicians forge million-dollar deals right under the nose of the noisy crowd who doesn't even suspect their hidden presence. Fact 20. Centralia City. Acrid smoke billows from deep cracks in the scorching asphalt, while an unbearable stench of sulfur hangs in the air, and the soles of shoes begin to melt from the incredible and lethal temperature of the earth. This is a former mining town in Pennsylvania beneath which an underground fire has been burning for over 60 years. Once local residents set fire to trash in an abandoned mine, and the fire spread to the endless coal seams deep beneath their feet. The town slowly turned into a living hell as houses collapsed into the earth and people suffocated from the lethal toxic gases. The government evacuated the entire population and permanently erased this settlement from all official maps. The fire beneath the earth will continue to burn for at least another 250 years, slowly devouring the remains of human civilization in the impenetrable darkness. The scent of fresh wood and ancient herbs fills the crystal-clear Japanese air as the echoes of a quiet prayer fade among the centuries-old cedars. This is the Ise Grand Shrine, the holiest place in all of Japan, which conceals the supreme relic of the imperial family. Only the emperor and the highest priests possess the sacred right to cross this threshold. Every 20 years, the old temple is completely demolished and rebuilt from scratch according to ancient blueprints to preserve the purity of the spirit. Ordinary tourists are only permitted to gaze upon the wooden fence from a humble distance. No one truly knows exactly what is kept within the main chest, but legends claim it holds the magical mirror of the sun goddess herself. The guards watch every movement around them with absolute precision, ensuring that no one disturbs the eternal peace of the gods. The heavy air here suffocates the lungs, while a distinct taste of ash and death lingers on the tongue. Amidst the ancient Turkish ruins, a dark crevice yawns in the earth, considered for millennia to be a direct portal to the underworld. This is Pluto's Gate, a place where priests cast sacrificial animals that perished instantly without a single touch. Today, the entrance is strictly forbidden and sealed off with heavy, reinforced iron bars. Scientists have discovered that lethal carbon dioxide gas continuously escapes from the depths of the earth. Its concentration is so lethal and extreme that any living creature is suffocated within a matter of mere seconds. Birds flying too low drop dead onto the stones, serving as a grim reminder of the underworld's ruthless power lying in wait for unwary travelers. The cold glint of armored steel is blinding, the air heavy with the scent of gun oil and absolute control. This is Fort Knox, the world's most famous gold bullion depository of the United States of America. It is encircled by lethal minefields, electric fences, and thousands of elite armed soldiers prepared to shoot to kill at the slightest hint of any threat. The main vault doors weigh over 20 tons, and not a single person on the entire planet knows the full combination to the lock. The security code is divided among several employees who are never permitted to meet together, and not even presidents are granted entry here. For years, legends have circulated that the gold is long gone, yet for any ordinary mortal, verifying this truth is an utter impossibility. Thick fog crawls across the slopes of the American mountains, while a faint vibration from powerful generators can be felt beneath your feet. This is the top-secret Mount Weather Underground Center, a literal city beneath the rocks. Built to save the political elite during a global catastrophe, it houses its own hospitals, police, radio broadcasting studios, and food supplies for many years, with guards patrolling the perimeter 24 hours a day, while the massive metal gates can withstand a direct nuclear strike, as locals occasionally spot black unmarked government convoys driving into the mountain, but none of them have ever looked inside. For this is the place where the fate of humanity's remnants will be decided, as the rest of the world turns to radioactive ash. The scorching sun of Ethiopia heats the ancient stones, while the air smells of incense and dry desert dust. Hidden behind the walls of a small chapel lies one of humanity's greatest secrets, the Ark of the Covenant, where the tablets with the 10 Commandments are kept. This sacred site is guarded by just one man, a solitary monk, who has voluntarily sentenced himself to lifelong imprisonment behind these very doors. He will never step outside and will permit no one to enter until the day of his death. Not even the head of the church is allowed to cross this threshold. Armed guards stand perpetual watch around the structure, for the locals believe the Ark radiates a lethal energy, an energy capable of instantly incinerating any sinner, ensuring this holy shrine remains unreachable to the entire world forever. Cold waves beat against a forgotten shore in the heart of bustling New York, where thick vines choke the ruins of an old brick hospital, and the air reeks of decay and dampness. This is North Brother Island, a place where people with dangerous infections were once forcibly sent into exile. It was here, in absolute and crushing solitude, that the infamous Typhoid Mary spent her final days. Today, nature has completely reclaimed the ruins, and the government has strictly forbidden anyone from stepping onto these forgotten shores. The buildings are prone to collapse at any moment, while the territory is guarded by a flock of rare birds that aggressively attack any intruders. Life in the metropolis teems all around, yet this tiny patch of land remains forever trapped in the grip of death and oblivion. Fact 27. The unexplored Paris catacombs. Absolute darkness weighs upon the eyes. The air is thick with the heavy scent of wet chalk and decay, and human bones crunch eerily underfoot. Deep beneath the streets of romantic Paris stretch 300 kilometers of underground tunnels, yet tourists are permitted to visit only a measly 2 kilometers. The rest of the network is strictly forbidden for entry, where it is easy to get lost and die of starvation among millions of skulls. A specialized police unit patrols these dark labyrinths daily, catching thrill seekers who hunt for extreme sensations. Legends tell of secret cults and lost halls where the foot of a modern man has never tread. Every step into this darkness could be a one-way ticket. The blinding sun reflects off crystal clear water, and the white sand appears soft, yet this perfect tropical image hides a deadly peril. This is Bikini Atoll, where the American military dropped over 20 atomic bombs during testing. The air here bears no scent of radiation. It kills in total silence. The native inhabitants were expelled from their homes forever, and today, returning here to live is strictly forbidden. Local coconuts and fish are saturated with toxic isotopes that slowly destroy cells. Phantom ships that were used as military targets still rust at the bottom of the ocean, transforming this paradise into a lasting monument of human cruelty. The dry wind of New Mexico drives tumbleweeds across the scorched earth, and at night, the sky above the plateau flares with strange, unexplained lights. A secret Dulce base is allegedly hidden beneath this inconspicuous town. For decades, local residents have spoken of subterranean vibrations and black, unmarked helicopters. The government heavily denies the existence of any tunnels, but the territory surrounding the mountain is rigidly patrolled by heavily armed personnel. Conspiracy theorists assert that advanced genetic experiments are conducted, and otherworldly alien technologies are stored at a depth of several kilometers. Not a single brave soul who attempted to locate the hidden ventilation shafts has ever returned to tell the tale. Complete fear paralyzes everyone who approaches this enigmatic zone, where the fragile boundary between reality and a waking nightmare entirely vanishes. Fact 30. The Javari Valley. The dense thickets of the Amazon create an impenetrable green wall, while a suffocating moisture hangs heavy in the air, mingled with the scent of rotting fruit and lurking predators. This is the Javari Valley in Brazil, a vast territory the size of an entire European country, where any outside access is strictly and absolutely forbidden. Dozens of completely isolated tribes reside here, indigenous people who have never once laid eyes upon modern civilization. They hide deep within the shadows of the trees and shoot poison darts at every single helicopter that dares to fly over their heads. Heavily armed Brazilian police guard the perimeter of the reserve against poachers and illegal loggers, all to preserve this incredibly fragile primeval world. Taking just a single step into their sovereign territory means certain and inescapable death for any inexperienced traveler. Fact 31. The Red Zone in France. The air here does not smell of a fresh forest. Instead, it is soaked with rust and deadly poison from a century ago. This land endured the most horrific battles of the First World War, and still conceals millions of unexploded artillery shells beneath layers of mud. The soil is so heavily contaminated with lead and arsenic that not even grass can grow, while the water is lethally toxic to all living things. The government has officially declared this territory completely uninhabitable, and entirely closed it off to both tourists and local farmers. Specialized bomb disposal teams work there every single day, yet the complete clearing of the zone will take at least another 700 years. Fact 32. The Granite Mountain Records Vault. High in the mountains of Utah, beneath a massive layer of solid granite, lies one of the most heavily protected facilities on the planet. Its doors weigh 14 tons and are capable of withstanding a direct nuclear strike, while the perimeter is guarded around the clock by armed sentries. Inside, the Mormons preserve the world's largest archive of genealogical data, housing over 2 billion microfilms containing records of people from all across the globe. Access to the archive is granted only to select employees who digitize old films daily, transforming them into eternal digital data. This mountain has become a true vault of human memory, engineered specifically to outlast any imaginable apocalypse. Fact 33. Ilha da Queimada Grande. Just off the coast of Brazil lies a small paradise island that is actually the absolute deadliest piece of land on the planet. For every square meter, there are between 1 and 5 highly venomous snakes, the most prominent being the deadly golden lancehead viper. Its venom is so incredibly potent that it literally melts the flesh around the bite and causes immediate, irreversible tissue necrosis. The last lighthouse keeper and his family tragically perished here many years ago when thousands of snakes invaded their home under the cover of night. Now the Brazilian government has categorically banned anyone from approaching the island, and the Navy patrols its waters to ensure no one takes their final lethal step onto this earth. We have walked through locked doors and crossed boundaries where ordinary people are forbidden to tread. The world is far larger and more mysterious than they allow us to see, and every restricted zone has its own dark history. What other secrets our planet conceals, perhaps we will find out next time. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment about which of these places impressed you the most.